preparation for the CNN Call to Earth Day on November 10, 2021, ISNAD-Africa has worked with the college to organize in this environmental-centered debate. One of the major concerns for the whole world right now has to do with climate change and how to bring a solution to it. We have two options. Should we adapt or employ geoengineering? This is what the team of Fruitful Vines College will be debating today. Please sit back and learn while you enjoy the presentation. Thank you.
Principal, ISNAD-Africa representatives, our teachers, my co-debaters, and my fellow students. My name is Akinoluwa, and I am here to support adapting to climate change over geoengineering. First of all, what is climate? Climate can be said to be the weather pattern of a particular place, the temperature, the humidity. Then climate change can be said to be the change in the weather pattern or temperature of a particular place. In simpler words, it is the long-term alteration of weather patterns which includes humidity, wind, rainfall in a particular place. Climate change has been said to be a fundamental challenge for humanity because it deeply and perversely affects the way we live on the planet. Some examples of climate change include rising sea levels, shrinking mountain glaciers, and some other examples. Human activity has been discovered to be the main cause of climate change, which includes burning of fossil fuels. And fossil fuels are fuels that, when burned, they produce carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, which means when released into the atmosphere, it causes a greenhouse effect. Some other causes include power plants, farming, transportation. The transformation characterized by climate change makes the weather of the earth to be unbalanced. Some effects of climate change include frequent and intense drought, storms, heat waves, rising taxes, and even water quality could suffer. Some solution to climate change means changing of our main energy to clean and renewable energy, which are energy that can be renewed when they are exhausted. And this is the best way to stop using fossil fuels. So examples of renewable energy includes solar energy, wind energy, wave energy, tidal energy, and geothermal power. Adapting to climate change means trying to prepare for both the current effect of climate change and the predicted effect in the future. It is the ecological way of making ourselves to prepare for the effects of climate change. Geoengineering, on the other hand, means trying to work against climate change and trying to save humanity. But during this process, it has some disadvantages, which means it could be ineffective because it has not been tested before. It could also alter the earth system in different ways. It could also be financially expensive, and the technology that are going to be used by geoengineers are unproven technologies, which means until these technologies are proven to be without effect, we should be cautious about it. Adapting to climate change has some benefits, which means enhanced surviving, agricultural products, and higher household incomes. It also has some health benefits, which include increase in cooling spaces, reducing heat stress, reducing obesity, and it has been proven that it increases our mental health. Adapting to climate change also has some social benefits, which means local economic activities, resilience, and support in communities. In conclusion, I feel that I'll be able to win you over to your side that adapting to climate change is far more better than engineering.
Principal, Fruitful Vines College, ISNAD-Africa representatives, my teachers, my co-debaters, and my fellow students, good day. My name is Busari Aminat. I am here to prove to you that geoengineering is far more beneficial and advisable than climate change. Climate the long-term weather condition of a particular area, and climate change is a change in the long-term weather condition of a particular area. Climate change is inevitable as it is caused by what we mostly see as our day-to-day activities. Geoengineering is a cost-effective method of large-scale intervention in the Earth's climate system. Geoengineering is majorly of two types: the solar radiation and the carbon capture method. Solar radiation involves reflection of sunlight and reversing human-caused changes, and carbon capture involves removal of carbon and other greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. Adaptation involves adjusting of our policies and actions to suit the new climate. And to me, this is just like being sick, having the cure to this sickness and then refusing to take the cure. Vulnerability is the predisposition of people, wealth, and properties. And I think it's safe to say that adaptation to climate change leaves us vulnerable to the harsh effects of climate. Vulnerability depends on sensitivity and adaptive capacity of a place. If an area has high sensitivity to climate change and low adaptive capacity, it will surely be destroyed by harsh climate. So why not go for safer methods such as geoengineering? If we decide to adjust our policies and actions, what about our body structure? Let's take organisms with narrow nostrils as a case study. This adaptive feature helps them survive in the cold region in which they live in. What happens to them when there is a climate change to a hotter one? Do you think it will be easy for them to survive? I know you might say, isn't adaptation one of human living characteristics? Yes, it is. But if you take a good look at Darwin's theory of natural selection, that is Darwinism, we will find out that adaptation leads to evolution. And evolution may take hundreds or even thousands of years. With the rate at which climate changes nowadays, before the human body evolves to suit a particular climate, there would have been a climate change to another one. So why not just go for a more defined option, such as geoengineering's weather modification? Global warming, which is also a form of climate change, causes increase in pest production. And this can cause decrease in yield of staple crops, such as corn, wheat, and soybean. Decrease in yield leads to food shortage, and then competition comes in, which increases mortality rate in human. But use of geoengineering to remove the greenhouse effect can prevent global warming, thereby preventing a major disaster. Carbon is a major contributor to climate change. Then if we decide to adapt to climate change caused by carbon, what of the harmfulness of the carbon to us? Are we just going to leave the carbon in our atmosphere? Instead, using geoengineering's carbon capture method, the carbon in our atmosphere can be transported to a safer place where it won't be harmful to us. Instead, can be used to make in production of other gases and chemicals. It's natural to think geoengineering is expensive, but according to David Cates, a Harvard University scientist, he said geoengineering will only cost $10 billion or 1/10,000th of the world's GDP, and its benefit will be more than 1% of the world's GDP. This is a benefit 1,000 times better than its cost. So why not just go for geoengineering? According to Newton's third law of motion, actions and reactions are equal and opposite. Surely, geoengineering will have its effect, but with the rate at which technology is advanced these days, this effect can be annulled or minimized in such a way that it won't be very harmful to human beings. I believe having established this point, you now agree with me that geoengineering is better than adaptation. clear in support of adaptation to climate change. What is climate change? Climate change can be referred to as the shift in temperature or typical weather pattern of a place over a period of time. This shift can be natural, but since the 1800s, human activities have been the main drive to climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like gas, oil, and coal. Other causes like deforestation and farming. Surplus carbon enables plants to grow, and when you leave trees to grow, when you leave trees to burn, rot, or you cut them down, you release carbon into the atmosphere, which causes greenhouse effects of global warming. Farming. Farming especially releases a significant amount of methane and nitrous oxide. These two are powerful greenhouse gases which can cause greenhouse effects and global warming. Some of the things that climate change have done to our planet Earth are rising sea levels. Since the early 20s, that is 1900 to 2017, our current sea level rose from 16 centimeter to 21 centimeter, and if our sea level continues to rise, this can lead to flooding. Also, ice melting at a faster rate in Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic, shrinking mountain glaciers. Climate reference glaciers have lost a volume of ice equivalent to 25 meter of water. Change in plant and flower blooming time and extreme weather events like hurricane, tornado, flood, ice storm, dust storm, and so on. These effects can destroy our lands, can destroy livelihood of humans and community. And as climate change worsens, extreme weather events become more frequent and severe. Now, when you say adaptation doesn't mean just sitting around waiting for climate change to destroy our planet Earth or wipe out humanity. Adaptation means the measures we take in order to prepare for and adjust to current climate change events and the impacts in the future. Some things we can do in order to adapt to climate change. We need to keep our fossil fuels in the ground. Keeping our fossil fuel in the ground is a direct solution to reducing climate change. We need to restore nature to absorb carbon in the atmosphere. We have to protect our forests like the Amazon. We need to switch to sustainable transports like solar cars, using of camel, horses, or using of hydro-generated vehicles. We need to make people aware. That humans need to reduce their vulnerability on its impacts. And activities we can engage in to reduce our vulnerability on its impact to adapt to climate change are rising to higher grounds to avoid rising sea levels, planting crops that can thrive under new climate conditions, and also using building technologies that can stand as adaptation strategies. My opponent said that we would need at least $10 billion to geoengineer. But with the size of the Earth, I think we will need at least 10 times more than $10 million to geoengineer. And even if we use that amount, what about infrastructural development systems? What about education? What about health? What about security? And also, geoengineering releases chemicals into the sky that will gradually turn our sky white. No one would love to see our beautiful blue sky turn plain white. Hence, we need to adapt to climate change or face the consequences. Thank you.
fact that geoengineering is a better option than adaptation. To start, what is geoengineering? Geoengineering can be defined as a branch of civil engineering which uses large-scale manipulation for the intervention of earth, soil, atmosphere, or currents, which with the aim of reducing the effect of climate change. Geoengineers have come up with techniques by exerting cooling influence on the earth by placing mirrors in space. My opponents have spoken on, but I would like to change the mindset, which says that geoengineering requires a huge amount of money. Yes, it does. I won't deny that fact. But believe you me, it is better to spend millions of money and save millions of people than keep on insisting that geoengineering is expensive and doing nothing while people keep on dying. Furthermore, rise in sea level. Rise in sea level will cause flooding, which will lead to the damage of properties and might even claim life. Do you expect people to adapt to that kind of situation? Should we adapt to the situation with the high possibility of creating extinction of humans? Who would like to be extinct? Of course, no one. Lastly, adaptation is not something that is easy. Do you expect us to just change our way of living, which we've been used to for a long time? And as the name implies, climate change, it will continue to change, and we are not like robots which can be programmed as climate change changes. It has been scientifically proven that when the atmosphere is intensely hot, then plumes of gases and dust are released in large proportion from volcanic eruption, which when it touches the skin, it results into inflammation and discomfort. And also when inhaled, it results into the damage of respiratory organs, which can lead into difficulty in breathing, later ending in death. Geoengineers have come up with techniques by inventing vertical pipes which will support downward heat transport. Geoengineering also provides job opportunities, unlike adaptation, which provides no job opportunities. In conclusion, I maintain that geoengineering is a better option as adaptation is not feasible to achieve. Thank you.
Standing on the existing protocol. My name is Untitled. I'm here to support adaptation to climate change as a solution to climate change over geoengineering. We all know that the major cause of climate change is human activities. People burn fossil fuels, coal, natural gases, which produces carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas. It is called a greenhouse gas because it produces greenhouse effects. Reduction of human-caused climate change by geoengineering will pose a large risk on biodiversity. For example, the use of bioenergy, storage, and carbon captures will pose major consequences on wildlife. For example, the using of geoengineering method to extract CO2 from the atmosphere will help to reduce the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But this will lead to transgressing of other environmental limits, therefore creating a huge threat of biodiversity. Ocean upwelling, such as bringing of deep ocean waters, will lead to cooling of ocean surface, but this will affect the global heat budget. Adding of iron filings and quicklime to water will affect the oxygen concentration in water. Furthermore, the use of solar radiation method to reflect the sun rays back to space will create changes in the rainfall pattern, therefore leading to reduction in the rainfall process, causing drought and leading to reduction in farm yields. Reforesting of deserts in a massive scale will change the wind patterns globally and lead to reduction in the growth of trees worldwide. Also, The using of solar radiation method and global heat method, for example, reforesting of deserts will be disastrous if the irrigation required to maintain these trees are stopped. Therefore, the reforested desert will start to become desert, and the carbon stored in these trees will start to return to the atmosphere. In my own opinion, no matter how we counteract the effect of global warming, there are still some climatic effects that are inevitable. For example, rising sea levels, drought, and rising temperatures which could affect communities globally. To counter this, we need to cut that carbons. I mean that we need to adapt. We can adapt to climate change by reducing its vulnerability to its impact. Actions as moving to higher levels in order to avoid rising sea levels, planting of new trees that will thrive in new climatic conditions, investing in renewable energy will reduce the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and we also create a better paradise for us humans. Also, planting of new trees, but now in a lesser scale, we absorb carbon dioxide in the air, and we also reduce the effect of carbon dioxide on us. Coastal ecosystems such as seagrasses, mangroves, and salt marshes will serve as a better water filtration system. They help to prevent rising sea levels and also other effects caused as a result of increase in rise of ocean. Before I leave, I would like to ask the following question. Do you want an increased problem? Do you want a better problem? Do you want a problem that can easily be solved by adapting? If not, it's better adapting to climate change than geoengineering. Thank you.
Geoengineering is much safer and better than adaptation to climate change. According to the World Meteorological Organization, Earth's climate appears to be changing more frequently than previously observed. With active mitigation and adaptation measures, additional efforts to control the evil effects of climate change may be needed. Geoengineering of climate is an option that is now gaining policy, scientific, and public attention while raising political, ethical, and environmental challenges. According to the World Meteorological Organization, geoengineering is large-scale interference with the Earth's climate system in order to moderate global warming. My opponents have rightly said the effects of climate change, one of which includes rising sea levels. We are expected to adapt to rising sea levels. Rising sea level will lead to flooding, and flooding will lead to the destruction of lives and properties. That is, the properties that people worked hard to earn are going to be taken away from them. Are we supposed to adapt to something that kills us? Are we supposed to adapt to something that takes away what is ours? My opponents may think that early information of people around the world that there is going to be a climate change, and so they should prepare to adapt to it, will work. But I must strongly disagree with that, because no matter how developed the world is, there are places around the world that do not know what civilization is. There are places around the world that have not experienced what technology is. Taking Nigeria as a case study, there are villages and hideouts everywhere that people don't know about, and yet you expect information to get to such places. There are places like that where they do not know what the internet is, and we're supposed to tell them that, oh, prepare, oh, there is going to be a climate change. I see adaptation in this case as something not visible. Apparently, the ozone layer is depleted to an extent that rays that shouldn't get access to human beings have finally gotten access to them. I mean rays like the ultraviolet rays and infrared rays. These rays have the ability to cause skin cancer, rashes, burns, destruction of the immune system, and reduction in farm yield. Yet, they are getting to us. So we are supposed to adapt to stuff that are dangerous to our health. We're supposed to adapt to things that are injurious to us. My opponent said that farming releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Are we supposed to stop farming? Are we supposed to stop eating? Of course, we cannot go for that. Geoengineering, I see, is the way out of all this. Adaptation means adjusting. They said that to be able to adapt, we need to adjust some of our activities. They said we need to vary our fossil fuels, reduce burning, and engage in other things of such. Taking a country like India, for instance, in India they believe in cremating their dead bodies. They have insufficient land, and they believe that available land could be used for things more productive than burying their dead bodies. So they decide to cremate their bodies. In the process of cremating bodies, carbon is released into the atmosphere, as each and every living organism is contained with carbon, and the burning of living organisms will lead to release of carbon into the atmosphere. Why not let's adapt the carbon capture means of geoengineering to solve this problem? We decide that we want to adapt. If we say we need to regulate our activities, if I did it and you did it, there are people who don't do it. Going back to India, we might try to convince them to stop it. But what about the fanatic ones among them? Listen, not everybody can comply to the conditions of adaptation. Not everyone can comply to the conditions of adaptation. You may say, as you said earlier, rather, that geoengineering hasn't been tested, it hasn't been proven yet. But I want you to know that despite the fact that geoengineering is just a theory that is yet to come to being, a theory that hasn't been tested, it is worth the try. Because we cannot continue to live under conditions that hurt us. We cannot continue to live under conditions that cut down our lifespan. We need a solution rather than adapting to this. You said geoengineering will lead to reformation of deserts. If we do not geoengineer, if we decide to adapt to stuff that kills us, how are we expected to live under such conditions? Apparently, we cannot even live under such conditions because mortality rates will increase, and as such, extinction can come to the human race. I think there's a way out. As a matter of fact, I know there's a way out. And the way out of this is geoengineering. Why not go the safe way? Why not go a way that doesn't kill us? Why not go a way that suits us? I hope with this point of mine, I've been able to win you over and let you know that geoengineering is much better than adaptation